Today, we are going to share with you the top 10 controversial issues that take place in the Philippines as of 2020, mostly during the Duterte administration. Our list may help you pick out the most important and recent top 10 issues faced by the Philippines government. But before that, let us share with you briefly about the Philippines and the administration of its current President Duterte. The Philippines is an archipelago with more than 100 million population. Also, it is the 13th most populated state in the world. The Philippines is an extremely multilingual and multi-ethnic country. The geographic and demographic conditions, weak state capacity, and social inequity further constrain the political leadership's governance capacity. We have seen that Rodrigo Duterte was duly elected as the 16th President of the Philippines in May 2016. His arrival and policies led not only to improving the economic condition and to reduce poverty in the country but also to decline the quality of democracy and more or less openly explicit authoritarian rule. Due to that, the Duterte administration had to face many protests and controversial issues during its ruling period. These crucially affect the political and overall future of the Philippines. Now, here are the top 10 controversial issues in the Philippines as of 2020. Top 10. Government's response to the recent typhoons. Consequently, the Philippines is located close to the Pacific Ring of Fire. It leaves the country prone to relatively frequent natural disasters such as volcanic eruptions, earthquakes, and typhoons. Indeed, in the last few years, the Philippines witnessed several extremely strong typhoons. In 2018, Typhoon Paniqui, which is the strongest storm recorded in the world, barreled through the northern Philippines. Moreover, bringing with it ferocious wind and torrential rain caused damage to many public properties and people. As we have researched, the Philippines is ranked 3 out of 171 countries on a scale of countries most vulnerable to typhoons. It's obvious for the government to adequate infrastructure and public services to all parts of the country with climate conditions. The people, especially youths, staged the protest to arraign to the Duterte administration's lack of response towards this issue. Top 9. Good conduct. Good conduct time allowance controversy holds the 9th place in our list of top 10 controversial issues in the Philippines as of January 2020. We have seen that these employees of the Bureau of Corrections were involved in the good conduct time allowance controversy in August 2019. It begins with the Director General and other several government officers signing a document. It contains the release forms of Antonio Sanchez. He is the prime suspect for the rape and murder of Eileen Sarmenta and Alan Gomez. Due to this, Eileen's and Alan's university friends held a rally to show their remonstrance towards the release of Sanchez. Furthermore, in September 2020, the court released the killer, Joseph Scott, with a presidential pardon from President Rodrigo Duterte. Therefore, several LGBT communities held a rally to protests against Duterte's absolute pardon of Joseph Scott Pemberton on September 11, 2020. Top 8. ABS-CBN franchise renewal controversy, shutdown, and franchise denial. Disputes between the government of President Duterte and ABS-CBN arose on the terms and conditions of the franchise renewal agreement. Amid the controversy, the Congress of the Philippines was unable to renew the franchise before its expiration date. ABS-CBN is the largest and leading broadcasters in the Philippines. The shutdown of the network creates massive criticism among local celebrities and viewers also. With a shutdown, many employees of the company risk losing their jobs. Therefore, many supporters, viewers, employees, and responsible parties of ABS-CBN held a noise barrage in solidarity as a response for the network. Top 7. Lowering the age of criminal responsibility. Lowering the age of criminal liability runs counter to the spirit of various Philippine laws that recognize the vulnerability of minors. House Bill, January 22, 2019. As a result, children aged 9 to 15 years old will face a criminal charge if found guilty of committing serious crimes under this proposed bill. Then, 2 days later, the committee decreases the minimum age of criminal responsibility again from 9 to 12 years old. But we have witnessed that it was protested by many organizations such as UNICEF and Save Children. In addition, local people used #No to lowering of MAC to support children and not to condemn them as criminals. Top 6. Alleged killing of farmers by the military. In the Duterte administration, opposition figures contained farmers' protest due to their claim that the military allegedly killed the farmers. Military and police of the Philippines brutally murdered 14 and arrested 16 farmers in the province of Negros on March 30th. The Duterte regime destroyed the lives of a total of 213 farmers in this period. Furthermore, the farmers, their families with the opposite group said that the Duterte administration and military should be held responsible for these farmers and families. Thus, the whole people in the Philippines accused the government of these controversial issues. Top 5. War on drugs, extrajudicial killings, and police brutality. In the Philippines, there is a lot of crime, corruption, and poverty as a result of drugs. That is why, as we have noticed, President Duterte wants the drug problem to be tackled. His goal is to create security for good citizens. Due to this, the country has been experiencing less crime since Duterte's presidency. But there is much criticism towards Duterte's approach and also on the approach of the Philippine National Police. Consequently, the war on drugs caused many people to die. This is accompanied by the violation of many human rights. Critics think that Duterte's war on drugs is morally and legally unjustifiable. This causes a lot of international criticism of Duterte and his task force. Innocent citizens are also the unfortunate victims of this war on drugs. Top 4. Paniqui, Tarlac shooting incident. In the fourth position of our list of the top 10 controversial issues in the Philippines as of 2020 is the Paniqui, Tarlac shooting incident. One day, a killing incident was caught on camera and it was virally shared among people up to the President of the Philippines, Rodrigo Duterte. On December 20, 2020, a police officer shot at his unarmed neighbors following an argument. It occurred in Paniqui, Tarlac in the Philippines. Furthermore, the killer, Jono Montiels Nuzca, is an incriminatory police officer for homicide cases and multiple administration cases. Hence, the next day many people condemned killing on social media. They used the hashtag "the police are the terrorists." As a result, many groups of people do gusty rally to protect against this incident on December 21, 2020. After the incident, some of you may have witnessed a depressing wake for the two victims. Our deep condolences, from the Daily Top 10s. Top 3. Red tagging. Red tagging refers to the malicious blacklist of individuals or organizations critical or not fully supportive of the actions of a sitting government administration. It takes a form of tagged as either a communist or a terrorist. The origin of red tagging occurred in October 2020. It started when the military red tagged the local celebrities, Angel Locsin, Liza Soberano, and Catriona Gray. The red tagging threatened the lives of the safety of individuals and also many people lost their lives. People protest against the government and this kind of concept on red tagging. Top 2. Anti-Terrorism Act. The House of Representatives of the Philippines has passed an anti-terrorism legislation that grants the administration of President Rodrigo Duterte broad powers to expand what the United Nations has called a widespread campaign of suppressing dissent. President Duterte is expected to sign the bill, which passed the Senate in February, and this will allow authorities to detain suspects without hesitation for up to 24 days, carry out warrantless arrests, and detain people for making social media posts critical for the government. Top 1. Government's response to the COVID-19 pandemic. The top issue out of the top 10 controversial issues in the Philippines, mostly faced by the Duterte administration, is the government's response to the COVID-19 pandemic. Indeed, the health authorities confirmed the first infected patient of COVID-19 in the Philippines on January 30, 2020. The diagnosed patient was a tourist from Wuhan, China. Most of the people blamed the government for the lack of attention to prevent the coronavirus from spreading. In this case, the government's handling of the COVID-19 pandemic has received criticism from social media platforms too. The irregular way of the government following to avoid the coronavirus may be threatened to the lives of Filipino. As of January 11, 2021, Philippines holds the 30th place from around the world with a total of 490,000 plus cases, 458,000 plus recoveries, and with a total of 9,000 plus deaths. President Rodrigo Duterte may act differently from the other leaders of the Philippines. But there may only be a need for a more layered understanding of the man and his policies. He is the first Philippine president, not from a traditional landowning elite, who has dominated the critical centers of powers in the capital since independence. Previously, we have shared with you the top 10 amazing facts you never knew about Nepal. Make sure you don't miss it. Enjoy!